Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Week 3 NFL Power Rankings. It's already going so fast, man. I know it's only Week 3, but Week 1 feels like it was just kicking off yesterday. Also, for anybody wondering how often I do Power Rankings on YouTube, I don't do it every week. I only do it every other or every couple, because I don't want it to be too oversaturated. So next week there won't be one, but there'll probably be one in Week 5 or 6. Couple of plugs before we hop right into it. Don't forget to use code Wyatt's World on G Fuel or Prize Picks, where you can save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products, or guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 lineup after using code Wyatt's World at sign up on Prize Picks. Quick reminder, this is also the last weekend to take advantage of the Caleb Williams free square. All he needs is 1 yard for the entry to win. But remember to always play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Alright, so getting right into it, starting with number 32, the bottom of the league should be a shock to nobody. It's the Carolina Panthers. I don't mean to beat on a dead horse, and I won't do it for long, but the offense has been absolutely disgusting. The defense has been underwhelming. There's just been absolutely nothing positive going for that team through 2 weeks of NFL football. 31, give me the Denver Broncos. They've got a defense who can fight and an offense who can't. Admittedly, hopes were never sky high with this team, but they have a lousy run game. They have a lousy quarterback at this moment in time, and if Sean Payton can't make him do something, well, in the most respectful way possible, I don't think anybody can. Number 30, give me the Giants. I mean, they played a better game last week against Washington, no doubt about it, but they still struggle to avoid major injuries, especially losing their kicker. And as good as I want to say the defense did, not allowing a touchdown, they also couldn't keep Washington off the field, allowing 7 field goals. 29, give me the Colts. They've been extremely underwhelming this year. They have the worst run defense in the league. Anthony Richardson has been struggling terribly. I don't think this will be the case long term, but to start off the season, I do think they're a bottom 5 team. And moving on to 28, we have the Rams. That has been disgusting over there this year. I think when they're all healthy, you know, they're a completely different team, but that's not the case right now. Their entire team is in the damn hospital. Defense has been horrible. Matt has 0 protection. Outside of Kyron Williams there isn't much to work with. No disrespect to DeMarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson either. Moving on to 27, we got the Commanders. Now, I will admit, this team is playing a little bit better than I thought they would, but at the same time, they are not playing nearly as good as their fan base was advertising them to be playing. I will admit, though, I do think a lot of your offense, you know, not scoring touchdowns is on the play calling rather than the roster you guys have. However, defensively, it's not like you guys have been stone solid or anything like that. A matter of fact, if the Giants had a kicker, you guys probably would have lost last week. Moving on to 26, we got Jacksonville, one of the most disappointing teams in the league currently. Now, not only is their defense surrendering the 3rd most yards against the pass, but their offense doesn't look like it can get past a high school defense. I really think they need to get Brian Thomas involved a lot more than just 2 catches a fucking game. 25, give me the Browns, and only because they beat Jacksonville barely. I think the Browns are pretty much just as terrible. We all know they have a defense that can disrupt anybody, but their offense is fucking terrible. Desperately missing Nick Chubb. Jerry Jeudy is their best fucking receiver at the moment. And on top of that, Deshaun Watson just sucks. 24, give me the Patriots. Big shock to me this year. A pleasant shock as well. I know they're a division rival, but it's nice to at least see them playing entertaining football. They put together an extremely impressive run game over the last 2 weeks. Their defense is making plays. It's not the most talented group of guys over there, but I do believe they're being coached in a pretty brilliant way. In number 23, give me Miami. Obviously, Tua's injuries weighing them down a little bit extra here. But really, what has there been to hype up about this team? They barely got past the Jags in week 1. And then in week 2, respectfully, before Tua's injury, they were getting their shit kicked in by the Bills. Really not sure what to expect now with Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson. I'm going to assume just 20 to 30 10-yard passes a game. Moving on to 22, give me the Raiders. Look, that was an impressive win they had over Baltimore. Bad coaching by Harbs or not. And I gotta be honest, I like this team's offense outside of the run game. It's just their defense that's a little bit weird. As disruptive to quarterbacks as their D-line is, they're actually terrible at defending against the run. And obviously, their secondary is far from perfect as well. Back to their offense, though. What did I say about Minshew passing for 4,000 yards this year? He's top 5 right now. Just saying. I know it's early, but it could happen. Moving on to 21, we got the Titans. What did I say yesterday? This team should be or could be 2-0 right now. now. It's just some foolish quarterback play that's holding them back. Their defense has been magnificent. I think they have a good coach. They have all the offensive weapons they need. They literally just gotta stop turning the ball over in the most stupid fucking ways. Moving on to 20, we got the Bears. Look, I know their O-line and their offense in general is just absolutely abysmal at this moment, but all things considered, they overcame a pretty catastrophic deficit in week 1, and then in week 2, they hung in there the entire game with the Houston Texans. Their defense can hold them up, but they've got to find a way to give Caleb more time, and like I kind of poked fun at in the skit, they've also got to convince Caleb he's not throwing to college DBs anymore. Moving on to 19, give me the Bengals. They're not as bad as their record shows. They just held Patrick Mahomes to 150 passing yards and picked him off twice. The offense started to find their bearings last week. I only expect them to continue to do that as well. This kind of just seems like a Bengal trend. Start off shaky, and then by week 4 or 5, they're kicking ass again. Now moving on to 18, we got Baltimore, and I can hear the boos coming across the United States, but here's the reality. You guys have the #1 offense in football in terms of yardage per game, and just like I mentioned yesterday, your guys' secondary is also the dead last in terms of yardage allowed. Like, you guys are playing like the Minnesota Vikings 3 years ago. You can just score on anybody, drive down the field on anybody, but it also goes vice versa because anybody can apparently throw and score on you. Moving on to 17, we got the Jets. They're not bad, but they're not as good as I thought, kind of like I mentioned yesterday. They've allowed the 7th most points in the league, and their run game is also bottom 7 with Breece Hall, which I don't understand. Aaron, I do expect to be working off some rust still. I think this team will improve, but as of this moment, they're a little underwhelming. Moving on to 16, give me the Steelers. I know they're undefeated right now, but they've scored 1 offensive touchdown in 2 weeks. Like, honestly, how far do you expect to go with that? Glad your defense looks as great as it always does, and I'm glad you guys still have arguably the greatest defensive player in the history of the game. But that's only half the battle. You gotta find a way to score points. 15, give me Green Bay. Even though I think they're going down this week, they haven't looked like that bad of a team at all. Week 1 versus the Eagles, you know, we give the benefit of the doubt to a couple things there. Shitty field, Love's injury. First game of the season, still hung in there with the Eagles. And then last week, when they were expected to lose to the Colts with a green Malik Willis, they ended up beating the shit out of them. They got a great coach, they got a good team, and dealing with what I consider a major injury at the moment, I think they're dealing with that better than a lot of teams would. 14, give me Atlanta. Week 1, they looked terrible. Week 2, at least at the end of the game, they looked pretty fucking good. Bijan looks absolutely electric. Kirk Cousins looking like he's finding his bearings again, which is making the offense click. Their defense held Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to under 200 passing yards. Feel like last week was a glimpse at the actual Falcons team that we were supposed to be seeing in week 1. We're just gonna hope was a case of the week 1 blues. And 13, give me Seattle. I'll give you guys some damn respect. How about that? You guys are 2-0 and Geno Smith is playing like he heard all the regression talk and took that shit personally. Top 10 in points per game, top 6 in passing yards. You have a top 5 defense in terms of yards allowed. Just tighten up that run defense. You guys might be unstoppable. All right, moving on to 12. Give me Arizona. Oh my gosh, this has probably got to be one of the biggest swings of the year, man. They look so good, to me at least. Gave Buffalo a scare in week 1, ended up absolutely decimating the Rams in week 2. Something they so desperately needed to fix was their run defense, and they did that. They went from being at the bottom of the league to being number 9 overall. Also, their offense has finally appeared to have that much needed receiver spark that they have been missing for years. No disrespect to the guys like Hollywood who had been there. Kyler is playing out of his mind. Your offense is one of the most underrated running backs in the league. Like I said in the positive preseason video, man, if there was a team to be a real dark horse this year, Cardinals had one of the best shots to do it. Moving on to 11. Give me Dallas. I still think they have a pretty damn good team. They just got their asses kicked last week. They have an offense that can typically move the ball at will, and a defense that typically, 9 out of 10 days will play as if they're not drinking a bottle of NyQuil right before walking on the field. They got their shit tossed last week. I would be very shocked to see it happen again this week. Moving on to number 10, give me the Chargers. This is the one team that's going to find a way to beat you no matter what it is that they have to do. The one thing I kept saying about them all offseason is I didn't think Jim Harbaugh was going to have the offense to do what he wanted to do, and he's doing just damn fine with it. The only gripe I have on them is I want to see them beat a team that's better than the Panthers or the Raiders, or at least a defense that's better than that. And this week with the Steelers, we're going to get to see it. Number 9, give me the Vikings. Another massive swing. The Cardinals, the Chargers, the Vikings. Who would have thought they're all in the top 12? Vikings look damn near flawless right now with Sam Darnold. Outstanding offensive weapons, a pretty good O-line. They finally have a kicker, and then who can forget the icing on the cake? Brian Flores and his wonderful defense he's been running. It was a shoulder shrug when they went out there and beat the Giants, but then when they showed the 49ers their own ass, that got people talking. 8, give me the Eagles. That was a pretty ugly game against Atlanta, and it wasn't the most perfect game against Green Bay either. I still think this is a very good team with a very loaded roster. But they've got to get A.J. Brown back. They've got to tighten that defense up, and Jalen Hurts has got to stop making these silly fucking fucking reads in the most critical spots. And that'll bring us to 7. We got Tampa Bay. They're looking damn good to me so far, man. Baker's playing very good football. Chris Godwin's carrying that offense. Defense against the pass has been pretty underwhelming this year, but I don't see that being much of an issue with Denver this week, considering they can't throw the ball to begin with. They have time to tighten that up. Moving on to number 6, give me the Lions. Now, I know they just lost to Tampa Bay, but I'm not worried about them at all. They could be 2-0 if it wasn't for a few flawed coaching mistakes that Dan Campbell's admitted to. We know Jared Goff had a bad game. When it comes down to it, I still think this is one of the best rosters in the league with one of the best defensive players in the league with Aiden Hutchinson. I expect them to dust themselves off and rebuttal in the best way possible with a win this week. Moving on to number 5, we have Houston. They don't look bad. They're 2-0, but they don't look as good as I thought they would. You know, they squeaked by the Colts in week 1, and then in week 2, it was a game with the Bears until the very end. I think a lot of it is, you know, just having a lot of new stars on the team, and this is their first couple weeks playing in live games. They will get better, but I'm not convinced they know what's working best for their offense yet. Their defense, I'm not concerned about, but that's also kind of hard to say after they just played the Bears, who don't even have an O-line. Moving on to number 4, give me the Saints. One of the best defenses in the league, one of the most explosive and best offenses in the league. Right now, there's no doubt about it. They're one of the best teams in the league. I didn't see that one coming at all, but I have no issue admitting I'm wrong on it because at this point, it's just delusion. I'll admit, any team can go out there and kick the Panthers' ass, but it's gonna take a pretty good team to go out there and decimate the Cowboys like they just did. Moving on to 3, we got the 49ers. I still think they're a great team, but they just lost to the Vikings, who they haven't beaten in Minnesota since 1992, and now they're gonna be dealing with some injuries. Sounding like Debo is gonna be missing some time. Ayuk has not been playing his best game at all. I in no way, shape, or form think that this team is in trouble right now, but I don't think they're a top 2 team in football. Moving on to number 2, give me the Chiefs. They haven't won a game by more than 1 score, and they just lost an extremely dominant part of their offense with Isaiah Pacheco getting hurt. I think they're still the team that's always going to find a way to win, but I don't think they look as good as the Buffalo Bills do right now, and I can already tell I'm going to get called biased and get a bunch of dislikes and laughing emojis. I don't see what's so fucking funny. For a team that I was told all offseason was going to suck ass, to have a quarterback who I was told was just going to do nothing without Stephon Diggs, prove everybody completely wrong, is one of the best feelings I've ever had. In week 1, Josh Allen just showed the world how fucking important he truly is to a team. And then in week 2, the Bills basically said, all right, and now we're going to go ahead and show you guys we can win if we don't use him. The man barely lifted a finger and they still murdered the Dolphins. This is also a team, by the way, that is just constantly riddled with injuries. You got Matt Milano still out. Taron Johnson's out. Terrell Bernard is going to be out. They have guys flying in off the bench who have barely had opportunities to play, and they're still making plays, creating turnovers, getting stops. Offense is looking about as versatile as ever. You don't know where you're going to get hit from. Through 2 weeks in the NFL right now, I do believe the Buffalo Bills are the best looking team in the league. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for my week 3 power rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and had fun with it. If you want to show me support, please do it, because you guys know I appreciate any and all help. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get this edited so you guys can watch it on time. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the game tonight, and as always, I will see you in the next video.